Hey guys, Mike here. Welcome back to another video on the channel. I recently said a couple of videos back that it was GP's big day when I fired up the new turbo. Well, you can see behind me that GP's having another big day. Thanks to a lot of people out there who commented, by the way, first off, before I start this vid. I'm doing a fuel pump conversion from the electronic fuel pump to the manual Bosch fuel pump that I've got there that I pulled off my Mark 1 engine. It's a really good conversion to do. It eliminates the need for the under the bonnet ECU, the MAF sensor, the number one fuel injector, all that kind of other stuff, and you basically operate the fuel pump by a wire. You just need a few basic electronics going into the manual fuel pump, like the cut-off solenoid and 12 volts and such, to make it work. So I really hope I can get this working. You know, it's going to be a little bit sketchy, but thanks for everyone who commented and all the advice you've given me. You know, and if we're looking forward to seeing the vehicle going out in the snow and me having fun, we'll blame all those other people who told me this was going to be a really easy job. I don't think it's going to be, but in all fairness, it's gone well so far, touch wood. This is how far I've got so far, and it really isn't that far. In fact, I've actually just managed to loosen the pump, and I'm about to take this plate off the front here, where you'll see the timing gears. There's no chain or belt on this engine, it's gear driven. You do have to take a few things off. I have to take off the viscous fan, which you turn anti-clockwise to get that off. And obviously you have to take off the crankcase pulley, which is pretty easy to do. I built a tool for that. I was struggling to get it off, and I was reluctant to pry around here because this is a really thin 1mm plate probably. So just a basic tool. You've got some M8 holes there, and you can pull it off. You don't really want to pry against that because you actually have rubber in between that as well, I think. So, and the rest is really just the radiator and everything else. You know, that these sorts of things are just nuts and bolts. Now I'm just working on the pump. I've just removed a number of things to clear everything out of the way. Obviously the glow plug harness comes off, that's the first thing that goes, and then you take off a lot of the diesel hose that connects the return line basically, and obviously then came off the actual fuel lines there, and I've lost one of the caps. I think I just did that then. I have to replace that, but I've just put caps on the ends of all of these just to stop any dirt going in. But unlike modern injectors, they are a little bit more resilient to that kind of thing, but you don't want to obviously take that for granted. You've got three nuts at the back there, they're 13mm M8, so you've got one here, and one there, and that one round there is super difficult to get to, mainly because of the shape of the pump. I thought I could get to it like this, the same way I got to the other one, but because of the shape of this pump and a kind of lump there, like whatever, a ledge, you can't get in it. You have to be like that, and without the right tools, it's difficult. So me being me, I used a screwdriver on the edge and knocked it down and loosened it. I was able to use a spanner first just to crack it, and then use a screwdriver just to kind of get it so I could take it off with my finger basically, and it's super easy to get to. So that's kind of loose now, and I've disconnected the wiring harness as well. Yeah, there we go. There we are. Well, I've got everything cleaned up, and just a word of warning, if you're going to do this job, I went in with the screwdriver here and I was hammering down on it, and I just took away the lip there on where that opening is for the frost plug. I haven't damaged the frost plug, but if you imagine I went in with the screwdriver and I pried that way, you know, I'd have been in a bad spot really. I would have needed another frost plug, but there's no coolant in the engine anyway, but it's just a word of warning. I've put the crank nut back on because I'm going to have to turn the engine, and you can see the timing marks. We've got B3, A3, we've got 2 dots there, another dot there, and various other dots. So hopefully if we align this, it means the engine's at top dead center, and we've got woodruff keys on basically all the gears, including the pump has a woodruff key on it. So I did some Googling, and I kind of figured it out. Well, at least I think I figured it out, because the timing marks all align up now. Apart from the pump, which is another thing altogether. But with regards to the other timing marks, I had to rotate the engine 56 times manually with a spanner on the crankshaft to get the timing marks to line up, and apparently it can take up to 70 rotations of the engine to get those timing marks to line up. I'm guessing because you have different size gears and stuff. With regards to the pump, it doesn't matter how many times I rotate the engine, the A will always be in between those two dots, and it's meant to be a B, and I guess it's because these two gears are exactly the same size. So I don't really understand it. What B is meant to be here, but it's A, and has somebody taken the engine apart? I mean, it's over 20 years old. Maybe someone changed the pump. Maybe someone had the timing cover off and did some tweaking, but basically I'm going to put it back the way the factory say with B. I was working on my car, pretending I was knowing what I was doing. Probably don't really know what I'm doing. Hey, but at least the timing marks line up. And if the dots line up, that means everything is okay, right? Okay. That's on very tight. Top quality. Way. That was easy. There we go. There it is. The Bosch pump. So here's the two pumps side by side. And if you look at the old pump, the manual pump that's going in, the Woodruff key's in the same place. I mean, they rotate kind of like that. And the design on the inside, I've seen pictures of it, and yeah, I mean that's firing cylinder number 1 now, and then I think it's 3, 2, 4 possibly, or 3, 4, 2. Well, it's the evening now, and I'm back out here. I've been doing a little bit of research in the time I was away. I've downloaded the manual for this specific pump and my engine. I've been to work actually as well, just borrowed some tools. I've got a Bosch dial reader gauge that basically screws directly into the back of this pump, allows me to set the timing of the pump perfectly. But my initial thoughts on the A being timed up, and it should be the B, it should definitely be the B. The A, I believe, is for the 5-cylinder 3.1 litre diesel engine, and the B is for the 4-cylinder, from what I've read online. By using a simple method of just using a magnet dial reader stand, I was able to determine that having A and B is different by 1 tooth. So hopefully I'm going to put this in with B, and then it'll be timed correctly. Yeah, it's time to get this put back in and see whether I can get the timing set up. But first I'm going to crawl underneath the vehicle and essentially look for a slot in the flywheel and the bottom of the flywheel, the gearbox, where you can slide a pin in to determine whether you're top dead centre. Oh, here it is. That's it. That's got to be it. There's a hole right there. So I'm just using an M8 bolt. There is a special VM tool for this. I don't have it. It's nice to get hold of those tools though if you can. I've got a few VM tools for certain things, but there we go. That just seemed to click into something there. And I use a magnet to hold it in place. I guess we try and rotate the engine. Oh, it's not going anywhere. Oh, it's locked. It's locked on that thing. I can feel it. So I'm guessing that is definitely top dead centre then, but because I don't trust that kind of witchcraft, I'm taking an injector out and I'm going to have a look at cylinder number 1. That is bang on TDC, Jimmy. Don't even think about it, you bastard. Right, that is, yeah, top dead centre, so I'm sure of it. So now we've confirmed we're at top dead centre. Old pumpicus, well, this pump here is going in. And I've put a gasket in the back as well. But I have not put the dial reader in the back. I hope this fits, or else we're going to have a lot of problems. I think it might have to go in that way. All kinds of bullshit. There we go, Jimmy. Right, this is kind of sketchy. Oh right, I don't know what's going on, but it's totally stuck. totally stuck on something. Is it that? Yep, it's the oil dipstick. That's what it's stuck on. And there he is. So all 3 nuts are in, but you can see the pump's still moving. And it's meant to do that because we need to really dial that in a sec. So I'm going to try to put this key on, which is bang on. There we go, B between the 2 dots. Everything's timed up great. 88 Newton meters is the manual. There we go. So this is the Bosch set I'm using. Not that there, that's actually some sealant, high temperature sealant, but you get a number of different things with the set for setting things up. I've never used anything like this for a pump before, any really with differentials and sort of doing engines and things like that when you're trying to measure piston protrusion and things. But in terms of what you've got is you've got a various range of adapters that go into the back of the pump, and then you've got to measure between a certain tolerance, and I've got that in the manual. So I'm going to get this screwed in the back. I think this is the right one. It goes in the back here, so you take that 12mm out and I basically put it in the back there. Always in the back. So I've used a 12mm socket and just cracked the plug at the back, and I'm just taking that out. And that just comes out there, and it says to remove the copper washer too. Guessing so the reading is accurate. And then we're screwing this in somehow. Oh yeah, there's plenty of clearance actually. I don't know how I'm going to see all of this, but anyway, that's in down there, and you can kind of see that pretty clearly sticking out the back of the pump. So now that that's all's in the back, that was 0.9 on the manual, and I'm going to put this in the description if you're stupid enough to do this. Using a socket, this is 0.10, using a socket attached to the front of the crankshaft, rotate the engine in a counterclockwise direction until the dial gauge indicator stops moving 20 to 25 degrees before top dead center. So we start to rotate that. Oh, and it's stopped already. It's stopped already. So that was way less than, maybe it was about 20 degrees. But the dial gauge has stopped. So I'm guessing, yeah, set it to 0 and be sure the tip of the dial indicator is touching the tip inside the adapter tool. Right, let's adjust that to 0. God, I'm such an idiot, aren't I? It's because I'm nervous. That's 0. Because I'm pretty sketchy. This is kind of sketchy work. I'd rather re-gear a diff, which is personally less scary but also very difficult. Rotate the engine clockwise until special alignment tool, which is that thing in the back. No, it isn't. Special alignment tool VM1043 can be inserted through the hole in the bottom of the clutch housing, stopping the flywheel rotation. This position is number 1 cylinder TDC compression. Engine must be at TDC number 1 compression firing stroke. So, I now need to go under the vehicle whilst gradually rotating this. So I'm going to go check that first. Oh, here I am again. Oh, okay, let's try it. Oh. So we put that in there. Oh, we're putting it in the wrong hole. Okay, so that definitely won't go in. That definitely won't go in. Yeah, so that's good. Let's go rotate stuff and pretend. So I've got to rotate it a little bit, then come back, and then rotate it a little bit again. Oh, there we go. So before I read that out, I'd already backed it off a little bit. So let's go forward a touch. Yeah, that is top dead center. Hopefully you can see this because now I've backed this nut off here, which was the only one that was really very tight. The others were just snug, and I need to rotate this so it's 0.55 basically. So rotating that to 0.55 there, and that is supposedly exactly where it's meant to be. I imagine it's going to change slightly, just very slightly, as I tighten this nut, but not a lot, hopefully. And there we are. That is apparently the procedure. Well, that's the pump installed. The rest is just like fuel lines and everything else. I've taken away injector number 1, just put a standard injector in there. Obviously MAF sensors disconnected. And in terms of what I've done with the old fuel pump to get the connectors right, I took the connector from the old fuel pump but left the back of the connector in the pump, so I've got the wires basically in the correct configuration if I have to reassemble the connector. But I've taken the connector that was the cut-off solenoid for that pump and also 12 volt supply for that pump and used it for this pump here, and it's really simple because, to be honest, they're the same kind of pump from the same vehicle, so all the connectors are kind of the same. So that was very simple. But now it's obviously time to start the engine. I know, it's looking really shiny. I kind of went a bit OTT with the shinies, but you know me on this channel. I'd be super surprised if this worked. It all feels so wrong. Because, I mean, you know, electronics are so heavy in vehicles these days, and this is old school, but, you know, it's still got an ECU in the engine, it's got a MAF sensor, it's got the sensor number 1, everything's talking. But at heart, it's a diesel engine, so it just relies on compression. And it has a mechanical pump, whether it's the electronic one or this one, they're both mechanical, driven by a gear. If fuel's going in and it gets combusted, the cycle begins. And if you don't have the cut-off solenoid, it never stops. So, you know, technically it is a mechanical engine and it should just work like one. Well, as you can see, the engine runs, which is amazing, really. I'm amazed I've got this far. Not the most difficult job, actually. I'd say regearing a diff, way harder than that. But it was challenging in some ways, mainly just, you know, just using the dial reader in the back of the pump. But when you've got all the settings written down in the manual and stuff, it isn't really too much of a big deal, to be quite honest. But you can see the engine's rebuilt now. In the last clip there was no coolant and I didn't have this manual oil pressure gauge with me. So I was reluctant just to push it too far without coolant and without the manual gauge on. Just because these two things kind of are quite important for an engine. But since that last clip, I rebuilt everything, lick of paint, kind of got it restored and looking nice, and used a paint marker as well on all the nuts and bolts, just because it's something I like to do, because then when you look in the engine bay, you can just eyeball everything and know that things haven't moved, and I guess it's nice to do on your own engine anyway. But my oil pressure sensor didn't work actually prior to this mod, so it's nothing to do with the ECU delete and stuff. It's actually just because it's the wrong oil pressure gauge, and they don't make that one for my engine anymore. It's completely discontinued, and that is directly from Jeep. Apparently for this engine it gives the wrong reading. So I wanted to sort of old school the whole setup and get an analog setup like this. This was going to be plumbed through into the dash along with the boost gauge and EGT gauge, but it actually said on the box when I bought it, not for permanent operation because of potential oil leaks. But other than that, I've actually got a throttle cable plumbed in now. It doesn't connect to the foot pedal, it's just hanging out the bottom of the engine near the foot pedal. And obviously I'm going to need to drill a hole in the firewall and get that kind of connected up to the foot pedal, and I have to weld an extension to the foot pedal. So that's kind of some more work, but it's definitely next to the pump right there. It's just waiting to be connected to the actual throttle on the pump. I just have to work out a little linkage there, but that's not really a big problem. But it's a trailer cable. It's extremely thick and pretty heavy duty, and it comes with various hardware at the other end, so you can kind of bolt it with two big washers through the firewall, and it should kind of be able to stay there and not kind of manipulate that sheet metal. I'm not sure how thick the firewall is, but I'm going to fire it up again now. I've got coolant in the system, obviously oil's in there, brand new oil change, everything. One thing I will say is I've got no intercooler or piping. I actually took the plunge and I bought the same side intercooler that I've been looking for with 2-inch piping, and that's something I'm going to get put in the next couple of weeks, and then it's ready to drive. But enough yammering on once again by me. As I say, there's probably about 3 of you left by now. I don't blame you really, you know, these videos are kind of, they're not for everyone, but time to start the engine. So there you go, engine sounds great, whistling away, and seems pretty happy. Turbo's coming in early, very responsive, and yeah, oil pressure's normal, and there we go. So I'm pretty happy with that. I'd just like to say a big thank you actually to everyone out there who gave me advice and helped me out, and one chap in particular, Jed, over in the UK. Cheers, Jed, for making a video of how you did it, you know, obviously after you did it, but you showed me everything in the engine bay and with the foot pedal and that really helped a lot, because I couldn't find any pictures or any videos about this, and you know, all that little video you did kind of, yeah, it really helped a lot actually. So I'll put that in the description for anyone else who wants another perspective on it. We'll just see another setup basically, so appreciate that, mate. But there we go, I'm really happy. I mean, you might ask why the hell is any point in going through all that? Well, obviously performance can be tweaked now with that pump. You know, you can adjust the idle, how much fuel goes in, everything, you know, can be tuned to match that turbo I've put on there, and the system will be a lot more responsive, and it will be less expensive to run, provided it continues to run. And we've eliminated a number of things really a number of sensors that the system relied on. In fact, there's another one in a box down there, but I'll just have to tell you what that is. I didn't get it out, but this is an interesting one. You don't see it a lot. This is the emissions control unit. Basically, it's like a solenoid with a little vacuum line on and a sensor that talks to the ECU with regards to the operation of the EGR. Now I have an EGR delete, but if you unplug that, you get check engine light. But obviously now I've got that all the time. I don't really care about unplugging it, but impossible to find that, and when you do, it's very expensive. The MAF sensor's been deleted. Instead of a MAF, we now just have a boost line going from a plate I made on the blanking plate for the EGR with a banjo bolt all the way round to the top of the pump, and that tells the pump how much boost's coming in, basically. And I guess it adjusts a diaphragm on top, perhaps. I'm not too sure how those manual pumps function. Maybe it's a diaphragm. I have to have a look at it. But a lot more simple anyway, and probably easier to fix if it does go wrong. And these are obviously expensive, and you know, you can get them second hand. To be honest with you, I'd hang on to them. I can obviously sell that if somebody desperately needed one. And the number 1 fuel injector, I've got a couple of these spare. I probably will keep one, but obviously if anyone really runs into trouble and they want to contact me, you know, I'm happy to sell a number 1 fuel injector. I don't really need 2 of them. I mean, I've just got a standard sensor in there, a standard injector in there now. I don't need this one with the pressure sensor on there. The engine is incapable of going into limp mode anymore because my foot and a wire control how much fuel's coming in, not a computer system saying, hang on a sec, a sensor's not working, I'm going to cut fuel just to be sure nothing serious is going on. So yeah, these are very expensive, but again, you can find them. I pulled this off my spare engine, and you know, as I said, I had a couple of them. I always carried one with me as well when we travelled, because it can be used as a normal injector, but obviously it can be used as the number 1, which is really important. The other one is the crank position sensor. It's incapable of shutting off the engine now. Again, that's located on the top of the bell housing. You can change that without going through too much trouble, and I got a spare one of those as well I used to carry just in case. But obviously that can stop your engine running, and you know, it can't do anything now because my foot and a wire tell the engine to run. So you know, that's really the end of that. So I did say this was an ECU delete, but it's not. It's a partial ECU delete, so that you still need the ECU under the hood. I actually unplugged mine, and nothing worked on the dash. So all the lights were there, but none of the gauges were working, no matter what I did. So I assume that ECU is somehow still doing something, but it isn't the end of the world. It's a fully waterproofed ECU, and you can submerge it. I mean, it can just stay there. And if it fails, then you have no gauges on the dash. The dash still works. Sorry, the engine still runs, but you're just going to have to plumb in analog sensors and kind of do something with that, which isn't impossible at the end of the world. But you know, just a thought, isn't it? But anyway, I hope you like this video. I really appreciate you watching. Obviously, it's a kind of a specialist video, and you know, I've had a number of comments, you know, from guys, yeah, asking when I'm getting back out in the woods and stuff. I'm still out in the woods, but I just haven't filmed anything. Normally I'm with my family though, and with friends and stuff. But in terms of going out solo and things like that, it's been a little while. Obviously I'm working full time, and you know, got a family and obviously hobbies and interests, and it's kind of a cold time of year. If you haven't already noticed, here in Sweden it's winter. So, you know, all this kind of stuff, it's just everyday life. And I don't film this stuff for content. I don't like think, oh, what shall I film next? I'm just doing what I always would be doing, and I'm just filming it because I enjoy it. And you know, I'm just taking it easy with this and just kind of enjoying myself doing some films. So, you know, if you enjoy watching, that's great. If you don't, you don't have to watch. I won't be offended in any way, shape or form. You know, not everybody likes this kind of stuff, and that's that. And obviously, if you used to watch my old channel, you know that, you know, I've done a lot of bushcraft stuff. I don't do that on this channel, although you might see some crossover in the camping. But, you know, I'm not camping at the moment. Me and Meg and Max have a big trip planned in the summer. We're working our butts off saving for it at the moment. And I'm spending my free time getting this thing as nice as possible. And the next step is decking out the inside. Real nice camping system in the back. And getting it sound deadened for the little boy, because it is just too loud really for him. And I can tell, you know, he's not loving it at sometimes. So Right, I'm going to go in and have a cup of tea, work tomorrow morning, and thanks for watching, guys, and appreciate everyone who comments and whatever else. And yeah, any suggestions, let me know. Please do. If you want to see me put a new intercooler in and stuff like that, I will, or else I'll just do it off camera. If you want to see me put the throttle cable in, let me know, or else I'll just do it off camera, because obviously, you know, I have to do it anyway. But thanks for watching. Take care. I'll see you again.